Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's Yui back with another newbie-friendly guide. Lots of new folks out there, so let's bring it back to basics. The main topic for today is going to be faction warfare. What is it? How to join one? How do the points and standing work? And the different types of rewards. Now before we get into this video, let's see who won last week's giveaway. Well, congratulations Siva for winning the giveaway. So faction warfare is a feature that was introduced with the Merlin patch, and it's basically made of all cities at war with each other. And the different factions are named after the 5 cities in the Royal Continent. So you have Thetford, Fort Sterling, Lyndhurst, Martlock, and of course Bridgewatch as well. So how do you join a faction? Well, that's really easy. You have the flexibility of joining any faction in the royal city, but you can only enlist for the faction that is based in that specific city. So you'll have to travel to that city each time you want to reflag with that faction. Now keep in mind, faction flag players can be attacked anywhere in the royal continent, even blue and yellow zones. And it also falls under the full loot conditions, and of course the other player attacking you has to be enlisted in enemy faction as well. Now also, faction flag players are not allowed to enter certain zones while being enlisted. These are the other faction cities, starter towns, Carleon, and black zones as well. So to flag up, you simply have to go to that city's faction lord, or the NPC, click on his name, and click enlist now. Now, quickly before we move on, to unflag, just click the faction flag beside your name and wait for the channel. So, what's all the hype around these factions? What do you get in return from enlisting? Well, flag players receive faction points and a faction standing for collecting fame during PvE, gathering, fishing, and outpost capturing. The amount of these points depend on the amount of fame that player receives, but does not include cluster bonuses. Now, the amount of standing earned depends on the number of faction points the player receives. A higher standing will give the player bonuses to the faction points they receive, and in turn, the amount of standing they receive. This is cool because points and standing will remain the same for players even if they die while being enlisted. So, the most important person in this whole faction warfare is going to be the faction NPC in the different cities. He will allow you to flag that faction, and allow you to start trade missions for the faction and offer rewards in exchange for the faction points you are earning. Now, what exactly are the faction rewards from the points? Well, you can buy city heart fragments, and these are used for capes and mounts. You can get faction crests, which are also used to craft these powerful faction capes, and you can get faction baby animals and mounts. Now, I won't get into depth with all these capes and mounts because that's a whole extensive video that I could be making on a later time. So let's talk a little bit more about these outposts you can capture for points. Well, these can be found in most clusters in the royal cities and always belong to a faction. The ownership of these outposts usually change, as it can be captured by any of the other 4 factions. So easily, to capture these outposts, players must defeat the champion and all the guards who defend it, and also capture the outpost by remaining in the area for a set amount of time, uninterrupted by enemy faction players. Now, after someone captures it, it belongs to this new faction and it goes into a cooldown for 20 minutes, whereby no other faction can attack it. The reward from capturing these outposts are faction points, faction standing, fame, silver, to the whole group that does the most damage. And lastly, you have the famous trade missions, which you'll see in another video with my other series, Rags to Riches. But essentially, these are trade missions that you can accept from the faction NPCs. These missions cost you a city heart resource, which you can either buy from the market or buy using faction points. So what is this mission? Well, the mission will send the player with a crate of their own faction city hearts resource, and they smuggle to a different outpost close to the rival faction city. The player will exchange the mission item at the smuggler outpost for another crate filled with the rival faction city heart resource. There is a protective zone around the smuggler outpost that prevents players from being attacked. Trading the mission items with the smuggler NPC will provide the player with a 30-second invisibility buff. The player will have to return the new item safely to their own faction city. If the exchange resources are safely returned, the player will be rewarded with the rival faction city heart resources. Now, to end this video, I want to show you guys how dangerous faction can be and the different types of fights you can get. So here's 3 versus I don't even know how many. We fought people from different factions, we fought red flagged, but it was very, very enjoyable. So, as always, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, like this video, subscribe to the channel to support me. See you guys in the next one. Cheers!